I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, cool. All right, I'm gonna turn the intro music off. What do you guys think of that intro music? Thumbs up. All right.
It was neat. Good job.
Thank you. It's from the let me switch back real quick, um, so I can show you what I was doing. Um, it's from this little device here. Um, can you see it? It's the OP Z. It's called an OPZ. It's like a little synthesizer. Um, but what's cool is you can connect it to Unity and you can actually use it to mix animation. I don't know if I showed you some of this. Um, I won't show you tonight, but it's a cool
Isn't
little.
that thing like $1,000?
It was this is little thing is like was $600. Um,
Yeah, I've seen that. Somebody make a beat with that before. It's pretty dope.
yeah, making beats and all that stuff. So um, yeah, it's fun. So, anyways, that was the intro music. So I hope you enjoyed it to break up the monotony a little bit. So you saw my videos, right? You saw the three videos. Did you see how I'm doing them? Breaking them up a little bit. So really, it's all about the assignment. Um, just making sure you guys understand the assignment. I did another video just before class started, and I think I'll do a bunch of like shorter videos now instead of having you guys watch one really long video. I think everybody has the basic concept down too for what we're doing. So, is there any questions about this next assignment? This whole idea of doing an integrated campaign? Anybody have any questions? Let me open up my chat window because maybe you might chat me a question. But does everybody understand the assignment?
I just
Yeah.
joined. Did you go through everything?
What, Brenda? For what was the question?
I just joined. Did you go through like the whole assignment?
No, no. So if you look at the way I broke up the video from Tuesday,
Mhm.
basically what I did was there's a part one, a part two, and a part three.
Mhm.
And part one just describes what the assignment is. So if you watch that video, um, it will just refer to the assignment as I laid it out. So,
So the only place you're putting them is in Discord because
well, they're
I
in YouTube on Discord. So what you
yeah.
can, yeah. So yeah, they're there. I put assignment one in Discord and I emailed everybody through Canvas. I haven't emailed everybody through Canvas for assignments
So
2 and 3.
so part one, I opened it. It was lots of HTML stuff that I thought like that was for another class. Is this what you did for the part one?
It should be if you go to Discord, it should be.
Yeah, I did open it.
You go to Discord and
Mhm.
right here, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That was part one. Everybody got this, right? Um, and then
Well, I copied it on YouTube so I can open YouTube on my computer because I didn't want to do it on my phone. I only have Discord on my phone. I don't have
yeah,
it on my computer.
you can just double click on these and then. So the idea is, it plays and then you can click YouTube and it goes straight to YouTube.
I see.
So if you want to look at them like that, but you can watch them in Discord, or you can watch them on YouTube. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that it's there. The idea is it's talking to you in terms of just the steps. So I broke it down into steps. Um, what are the steps that you can kind of go through? You don't necessarily have to follow these as steps. I just thought it made it easier for the video to kind of break it down into step one, step two, step three. So, trying to find one of the steps here. Go back. probably going too fast. But anyways, if you watch that, I broke it down for you. Is there any questions about the assignment itself? And you have time. So I think I talked about having you guys send me sketches, and I think Tuesday
There's
was
like steam coming out. Is there supposed to be steam?
Steam. Is that for me? Is that a question for me?
No, I'm sorry. My daughter was asking me a question. I'm
All
so
right.
sorry.
Okay, I wanted to, okay. So, so yeah, so we got the assignment, it's posted. If you guys have questions. One of the things I wanted to talk about was this idea of focusing on a consistent brand identity. So, anybody have any questions about what this idea of brand identity is? It's fairly common. Anybody, Vivian, any questions about this? Charles, Chris, do you guys understand the idea of brand identity? Because I think it's fairly straightforward, right? It's like you go, the last time you're out and about and you went to the mall and you went to the Gap, there's a Gap brand identity. So that's what I kind of want you to think about when you develop this. The focus is developing characters for as your logo representing the brand, but then following through with colors and typography. So what I have to show you is basically a presentation on brand identity where I focus on a couple of brands here. So hold on 1 second. And let me just go through this real quickly. So you can kind of see different brand identities for different corporations out there. So I'm going to bring this over and I'm going to go through this. So what this is a set of style guide examples, and I took this from a branding expert online. So if you want to go to his site, I just want to make sure I give him a proper shout out for this. His name is Arak. Trying to read his name here. Arak Vrenichuk. And he has a really good HTML email that he sends out all about branding and logo design and the history behind certain logos. So I took this from one of his HTML emails that he sends out, but I just want to make sure I give him the proper accolades, for what he's doing, because he is a very, very focused expert when it comes to brand identity and logos. So I got this from him, so I'm not copying him word for word here, but I am taking his examples and putting them into a presentation. So you can see a couple very focused branding campaigns from a couple corporations. So first one I want you to look at, so does everybody see this?
Yes.
Is Starbucks. So Starbucks branding guidelines. So these are the things that you should be thinking about for this most wanted campaign assignment. Logo. So that's what you're developing. That's going to be the centerpiece. Colors. Here, the idea of voice is interesting. What is the type of mood or expression that you should be conveying? Starbucks has a certain type of feel to it. That's their voice. Typography. So for the most wanted campaign, I wanted you to pick 2 fonts. Most branding guidelines will probably have at least 2 different fonts. And it's usually for headlines and for body text that the fonts are focused on. How to use illustrations and photography. So if we go into the link here, we can actually see the Starbucks guidelines. And it's interesting to kind of go through some of these things. It's actually showing you a little bit of the history, and then here's the content. So what's great about some of these style guides is that they're very accessible. A lot of times style guides would be printed, there'd be a book, but having it on the web, it's helpful for all those Starbucks uh, coffee houses throughout the country to follow through and understand what to look for. So it will go through, and this is typical of most style guides. You know, how to use the colors, what colors are being used. What you see here is the logo broken up. So you have the logo or the logotype, and then you have the word mark, the text. And you can kind of go through and see the variations, which is kind of nice as well. So these would be the different color variations to use. And there's even a nice little history, so you get an understanding of the evolution of the logo. So I kind of remember when the logo looked like this with the Starbucks going around it in a circle, but you can kind of see how in the modern version it's been really simplified. So it'll go through and talk about colors, you know, the mood. Here talking about green, the uses of green. And then there's a complementary color palette, and this is something common. What's nice about Starbucks is they break it up into seasons. So they have this seasonal breakdown. And then they have this nitro variation as well that focuses on the nitro coffee, which I tend to like a lot. But there's a level of specificity here, and the idea is that designers who are working for Starbucks need to follow this. So what you should be thinking about with your assignment too is having this type of consistency using a similar plan of action that you see here with this style guide. Now, voice is interesting. I'm not even sure what they mean by voice. I kind of do. Like I said, I kind of think it conveys mood. But it looks like it's all about signage and even the way that text is placed within a sign. You know, how things are balanced, paragraph, structure. Then we can get into typography. And, you know, that's interesting that there's some motion there. So to see the typefaces and how they are used. So here too, it's pretty cool how they're playing with the different variations as well. You know, so getting into those details. So what's interesting here is this typeface Pike. I think this was almost designed custom, possibly for Starbucks. Then you get into illustration and how to use photography. You know, where does the photography come into play? So that's Starbucks. So let me go through a couple other ones.
So why did they do like Starbucks, the face of a woman? I mean, what does this have to do with coffee?
You know what? That's a good question. So the idea of not being literal is important, I think, for a brand. It's kind of like why did they use the swoosh shoes? So why are they using a mermaid? So it's a mermaid, right? What's the history? So it's a siren. So a siren from mythology, the siren logo. So why use a siren? So I guess we could look it up, because I don't know. So history of the Starbucks logo, and there is probably some sort of history to it that would make sense once you have a general understanding of it. So the evolution. So what are they saying here is history and origins. So designed in Seattle in 1971, the trio named the company after a whaling ship in Moby Dick. So it has something to do with sailing. So that's interesting. So the origin of the Starbucks logo was the image of a twin-tailed mermaid or a siren Greek mythology has it that the sirens lured sailors to shipwreck off the coast in the island of the South Pacific, also sometimes referred to as Starbuck Island. So I didn't know that. So that's something to do with the actual myth of the sirens. And there's an island called Starbuck. And the logo was used by the original Starbucks founder to lure coffee lovers everywhere. So that's interesting, right? So it all has to do with being addicted to coffee and, luring in the customer. So that makes sense, right? It becomes iconic. And you think about it, 1971, you've had this history for almost 50 years that now it's burnt into the minds of the consumers. You see this, you see the siren, you know it's Starbucks. You don't even have to have the word Starbucks underneath. You know that there's coffee there. Have you ever done this? Like, you're driving somewhere and you're hungry and you just try to look for, like, the logo of the restaurant? Has anybody ever done that? Like, let's say you go on a road trip and you're coming back and you don't usually eat hamburgers, but you're just craving McDonald's. So you're just looking for like yellow arches. So I think that's the power behind the logo itself, which is interesting. But I think to talk about what you're saying, Randa, when you're developing your ideas and you have a concept for this assignment, this most wanted assignment, you can have a story behind the design, and the design does not have to be a literal thing that matches the item, let's say, if it's an item that you're trying to portray in the assignment. So, if your assignment is about a taco restaurant and, that's what you're focused on, like most wanted tacos, you don't have to put a taco in the logo. Maybe there's a story where it's something different. Maybe there's a character, behind it. So maybe it's like a explorer or something trying to search for the perfect taco, and then maybe the design is an actual explorer from history or something like that, explorer from a book. So the story goes into the logo. The logo doesn't have to literally represent that thing.
And the logo has to say most wanted. The logo has to say most wanted.
No, the logo doesn't have to say most wanted, but I want you to use the most wanted as part of the campaign. So let's say I came up with, I had this idea here before class, and let me go to it. So I was sketching out ideas for, this restaurant called Captain Taco. And I first drew this goofy guy with a taco hat. And then I was like, okay, that's kind of silly. I'm having fun. But then I started to get more serious about it, and I drew something that was more shape-based and geometric, more design-focused. And then I was like, well, let's try some variations. And so my other variation was something that was more fun and playful, but a guy actually riding a taco like it was a horse or even like a spaceship or something. So the logo uses the name Captain Taco, but then I would say most wanted, most wanted tacos, Captain Taco. So the campaign is the most wanted theme, but the logo itself, I don't want you to use most wanted as part of the logo name. You can come up with a different name for that. So anyway, good questions. Let me go back into this history. So I think it's really interesting what this how this person went out for this branding information. Eric Dvorak. So the next one here is YouTube. So YouTube, not as extensive in terms of what YouTube wants you to focus on with the guidelines. So they're just focused on logo, icon, colors, and the section called do's and don'ts. So let's take a look at YouTube. So again, placed on the web. So the idea with using the logo This is more focused on the corporate level. A lot of times you'll see the YouTube logo being used for social media purposes. Some interesting things though, they get into safe space. You always want to have a margin around the logo. Minimum size. You know, you don't want your logo to be any smaller than this. That's the minimum. What not to do with the logo. So it has to be recognizable and telling you what you shouldn't do. Don't change the spacing. Don't distort it. Don't change the color. So these are all things that you want to pay attention to when you're using branding. And then logos on different backgrounds. 2 versions of the full color logo, almost black and white. The triangle should always be white. So that's interesting. So you never see a black triangle. Use the black logo on a light colored background. Use a white full color logo on a dark background. Other interesting things, monochrome, and how you can knock it out too. So when you're working on your magazine layouts and you had callouts or you had things on that background image, thinking about how a logo or type or information appears is important. So that's what they're driving at with YouTube. So the next one here is Dropbox. So Dropbox, again, gets into more detail, kind of like Starbucks, but what's interesting about Dropbox is they actually have guidelines for the user interface, for the web, and for motion. So thinking about how the brand works when it's in motion is really important. So let's look at this one real quick. So again, spacing, color, placement. Now they talk about product lists, which is interesting. So product list, a very simple visual that can be used for, let's say, up here on your tab for your web page, or maybe for the app itself. And then the word mark, the whole word. Incorrect uses, don't change the color, don't deconstruct it, don't rotate it. And here are the application icons and screenshots. And let's see, where do they get into motion? Because I wanted to see that. They're not showing the motion part. What is in here? Oh, so look, there's a Dropbox containing different types of things you can use. And this is interesting too, because if you're looking at this, prior to the internet, you would have some sort of like sheet of paper with different size variations on it that you could actually see what were good sizes to use. So that's kind of what this is, showing you these different size variations. You don't want to go any smaller than that. So that's Dropbox. The next is Audi. It gets into more detail. So let's look at this one. So here, brand appearance. So basic, they actually have videos explaining this. See if they get into the details. So this is interesting how this style guide is taking it up a notch. Instead of just telling me through text and image, actually using animation and motion graphics, which is really cool. So I'll make sure I post this for you guys to go through. I'm not going to go through all of this, but I think it's really interesting how in-depth this is. So talking about UI for navigation, so maybe inside the vehicle there's navigation that needs to be focused on. Motion pictures, so talking about how how things should appear in motion, which is also pretty interesting. How it can be used in a commercial. So that's kind of fascinating, actually, really giving you all these details. It's nice that they list animation as well. Netflix, not as in-depth. So I'm not going to go through all of these. Last, I think it's Slack. They have something called brand architecture. So I'm curious about that. On here, they're going through a slider. So this is talking about more like why the logo was developed. Again, about more of the mood and the tone trying to being conveyed with it. So those are things that you should think about with this project. You know, consistency, colors, consistent, see-through typography, and even the layout should be consistent. So yeah, I just wanted to show you that presentation. Any questions about that? Okay, so let's see. So I kind of wanted to talk about the last assignment. So I just kind of wanted to pull out a couple of examples, and I think it's helpful to think about this last assignment. So first off, though, when you handed that assignment, and this is kind of my fault, let me open up InDesign. So I don't think I showed you this. So when you hand in the assignment, just make sure you hand it in as a PDF. So go to File, Export, and then pick PDF. And here you can pick just print. You have a couple other options. There's Adobe Experience Manager Mobile. So I don't even know what that is. Then there's Adobe PDF Interactive. So you can make interactive PDFs where you can have buttons and videos in your PDF. You just want Adobe PDF. Go to Save. And then here under Export, I usually pick, if I'm going to send somebody a PDF, I just pick smallest size. Now these other options are more for printing purposes. So a high quality print and this PDFX and press quality. These are the options that you would pick if you're going to send a PDF to a printer, especially like a big offset press. If you're going to have this professionally printed, you would pick these different options up here. But you can just pick smallest quality for the assignment and then export that and hit OK and then send that to me. So I noticed a couple of you were sending me the .indd files for the InDesign versions of this. So you don't need to do that, because what happens is if you just send me the INDD files, I'm going to get broken links. And what that means is when you send the INDD file, you also have to make sure that you send the images and the fonts. Otherwise, you're going to get an error message that pops up when you open the assignment, and it's going to ask you to find the fonts, and you're not going to have the proper images as well. So if you do want to send an INDD file to somebody, the actual InDesign file, what you have to do is package it. So you go to File, and then you go to Package, and then this pops up, and you can go through this, and basically it's kind of running down all of the assets that are in the file itself. So fonts, it's actually saying 2 are missing. These links here, showing me that these images, this Adobe Illustrator artworks, link to it. Colors is just showing you what colors are being used, CMYK. So it will give you an error if you're not using CMYK, if you're using RGB. Then you have print settings, which you don't, it's getting into more details about the document if it was being sent to a printer. Plugins, there's InDesign plugins, but regardless of some of these items on the side, what you just have to do is hit package, hit save, find a location. So I'll go to my desktop. You don't even have to create a new folder, but I'll do for this demo, I'll just create a folder. Just call it InDesign project. Give it a name. Project, hit save. And then here you can add details. So this is kind of important if you're sending this to a printer. You would probably want to put in the company that this is coming from, like your business, your address, and then instructions. So you might have some special instructions. You can add that information, hit continue, and then you hit package. And then, yeah?
I mean, instead of going this whole round trip, can we like just convert, like once we're done with the assignment, if it's INDD, can we like convert into I'm sorry.
You can actually, well, I'm telling you this so you understand the importance of sending an InDesign file to somebody. So I'm just telling you this so you understand. You shouldn't just send the .indd file by itself. If you're going to send the indd file, make sure you package it. And so I just want you to know, from a graphic design standpoint, from a standard graphic design business practice, when you're sending a document out of InDesign, just make sure you package it. Now, I want to show you this because what the package does is it will create a PDF for you. So for purposes of what I need, just send me a PDF, and that's fine. So all I need is a PDF. So you hit OK. And basically these questions are these warnings are, there's two types of warnings. One type of warning is telling you that the fonts are copyrighted. So it's just saying, note that fonts are copyrighted. But when you send this to a printer, you have to send them the fonts. So it's giving you that little bit of like legal warning so you don't think you can take the fonts and give them to anybody. But the printer can use the fonts, and that's fine. The printer's not going to keep the fonts, but the printer still needs the fonts for the purpose of printing. So here's the folder that it created on my desktop. And actually it's right here. And then you can see inside here in the folder, I have my fonts. So those are the fonts. The links are the images. So that's the artwork for the images. And then the actual InDesign project. And then it does save a PDF as well. So I just need the PDF. So that's all I need for the assignment. And then, here's that PDF. So I just want to make sure everybody understands that. There's packaging this is an important part of the process of printing an InDesign document that you create. So you have to make sure you send the printer a package. So I just want to let you know that. And then I kind of want to just go through a couple of the magazine covers then. I won't go through all of them, and if you're still working on them, that's fine. Like I said, I won't mark you down. But let's see here. So there's a couple I just want to kind of point out that I thought were really good. And if I don't point yours out, it doesn't mean I think they're bad. It's just that there's a couple that I just want to kind of share that I thought really captured, that were very readable and had a nice balanced look to them. And it's something to think about for this next assignment too. as you go through this. So hold on one second. So I'm just pulling a couple out here. Let's see. Yeah, and so as I go through these though, like Emmy, just make sure you send me the PDF. So I see you handed it in. Let's see. So this is, I just want to point this out. This is Rosio's assignment for the magazine cover, which I thought came out really great. So Rosio, do you want to talk about it for a little bit? Just explain how you came about this idea.
I basically took a lot of inspiration from the actual tabloids. That what you see is a lot of pictures that are put together, simplified text, and it's all very to the point but very eye-catching, which what I tried to do with the colors instead of mixing too much text in there.
Yeah, the colors are very emblematic of the tabloid look. You know, you always have these bright colors, especially exclusive. That's very National Enquirer looking. I think the whole look and feel has that whole sensationalistic tabloid. But this idea is really cool of ripping out the president's mouth and then having the Clorox bleach come in. So that's awesome. Like I want to like repost this on Instagram because it's good. Like you should do that actually. You know, so very nice political statement, but the layout is perfect for a sensationalistic tabloid. You know, and even adding the UPC symbol as well. So I thought that came out really good. And so let's see another example that I thought was really good. So yeah, Vivian, just make sure you save it as a PDF.
Yeah, I will.
And then let's see. And just one more I want to show. Okay, hold on one second. Okay, this is taking. I'm just gonna. This is Caesar's came out really good. So, Caesar, do you want to talk about your concept and how you made the decisions that you made for the look and feel of it? Are you there, Caesar? You're there, but okay. But let me just say that yeah, this came out really nice. Knocking out the text. It's well balanced. The use of this script font in contrast to the sans serif typeface came out really good. And the whole color palette had, as it relates to the actual food items as well. So I thought this was a very nice one as well. So I'm not going to go through them all. I'll give you my feedback in Canvas, but I thought, you know, the idea that these examples are very well balanced, nice color palettes, had a really very good look and feel to them. So, any questions or comments from anybody else? So, kind of as you think about the next assignment, kind of think about this. You know, think about balance in the colors and the mood that you want to convey. So let's see here. So does anybody have sketches that they want me to talk about for the most wanted assignment? I know a couple of you handed in sketches. Do you want me to go through any of these sketches right now, or do you want me to send you notes later?
I'll be happy to discuss mine.
So, okay, so Randa, so I'm going to pull yours up. So what is your, so I can see this is, oops, a stethoscope? So talk about your concept and how it relates to being most wanted.
Yeah, I was planning to make the where you put the in the ear, the eyes,
Okay.
and I made the teeth, and I'm hoping I can learn how to make the mouth close and open, where the teeth are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if I
Yeah.
can do that, that would sound fun. And I might still do something with the one that you put on the heart, the I don't know what you call it. The circle, where the circle is.
Okay. Um, so what you would do for the mouth, so you design it once in Illustrator and design an open mouth and a closed mouth. And then you can do that.
How
And then
can I, so do I have to have two pictures, or how can I make it like once closed and once open?
you need just two mouths and then one stethoscope. And then what you'll do is you'll bring them into Photoshop, and then you'll replace a closed mouth with the open mouth in that animation timeline that I showed you. And that the frame by frame animation process is in part 3 of the most wanted video that I just uploaded before
So is
class.
it two different ones, or only I play with the where the mouth is?
You only have to change the mouth.
I see.
Yeah, so don't don't put extra work into it. If the stethoscope itself is stationary, you only need one image, and if the mouth is changing, then you can use two images. So what is the if this is a logo, what would be the words that go with it, the word mark, the signature?
Yeah, I haven't thought of the words, and I have to think of like a place of where to place the words also. Should it be underneath, or should it be going around, or
Do more sketches and block out the words in your sketches, and then we could pick which one feels right in terms of the actual image and the words together. But definitely do more sketches, just to get a feel for the best idea. Simple sketches, fast, simple sketches. Make up a name, so it could be like a medical equipment company, it could be like a doctor, it could be a hospital.
Well, I'm thinking about COVID-19, so I thought maybe this is I mean, they're in
Yeah,
now, most needed.
yeah, you could say most needed, most wanted, medical equipment,
Uh-huh.
and then have the logo for this company.
Yeah.
Um, it's a health company or something like that. It can be like telemedicine. Telemedicine is
Yeah.
video based
Mhm.
medical advice that's becoming popular. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, I think that's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good concept.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So anybody else here want to share what they're doing? Did anybody else send me anything? I think so. Okay, well that's fine. So what you guys can do is just keep on working on the sketches, wrap up your magazine assignments, and then if you want help with anything with the sketches, just send me the sketch, and we can do like a Zoom meeting. As far as like any type of technical stuff, does anybody have any questions about the animation part? Remember, that's extra credit. So I'll probably go into more details with animation, and then I'll probably be sending you guys some smaller videos that you can watch so we don't you don't need to spend all the time in class, and you can go over these shorter videos. And I'll
So
probably
for the animation, are you gonna send which is part 3? Is this gonna be for the animation?
yeah. So if you look at my the video that I sent for part 3, it does go through um, the process of using the timeline in Photoshop. But I was thinking of doing another version of that that maybe goes into more detail. Um, so it's posted. Part 3 is posted. Um, and I'll just bring it up real quick. And if you go towards here, and I can probably put bookmarks in this just to make it easier. Yeah, it talks about rasterizing and then frame by frame animation in Photoshop. So this is what we in class we went through this, but using right here, it's kind of, it's hard to see with the resolution, but in the timeline, you go to window timeline, and then you click the downward arrow, and you pick frame by frame. And that kind of goes through this. And I have some callouts, but what's nice is too, just remember when you watch these videos, you have closed captions. So turn on your closed captions. If you have any problem with understanding what I was saying, turn on closed captions. And the other thing you can do too is you click on settings. Actually, it's not on settings. You click on the 3 dots here, and you click on open transcript, and it actually shows you an ongoing transcript of all the closed captions. So this way too, if you need to go to a specific part, you can actually click on it here, and it will go to that part of the video, so you can kind of get straight to that aspect of it. So yeah, so you have that there to help you. So is there any other questions then about anything else? So you got time to work on this assignment. You got time to hand in your other assignment. I did want to go over this idea of the integrated campaign, and I have some examples, but I think I'm going to save that for next Tuesday. So I think the only thing that you guys may be thinking about is how, what are other examples of integrated campaigns? So I don't think I've given you a good example of that, but I do have this book called, it's called Design Alliance, and it's all about uniting print and web. So that whole idea of uniting print and web is what an integrated campaign actually is. It's that your print and your web and everything that's involved for that campaign has a similar look and feel. So this is kind of a cool book because it talks about all these different types of campaigns. It's a weird book too because it's split in half. The top half details campaigns, and the bottom half, like 2 little separate books. The bottom half talks about different branding strategies. But I'll pull some of these out for next time and kind of, give you some clarity on, more clarity on what integrated campaigns actually are. So, but it is a good book. So it's called the Design Alliance. And then the last thing I wanted to show you is this other book. And I talk about this. I produced a YouTube video before class where I feature this book, and I go through some sketches. So I'll send you that YouTube video. But if you have any questions about the character logo, I love these little books. I got a couple of these. This one's focused on the 60s and 70s. And so here are all sorts of examples of character-based logos from that time period. So you have a variety. The classic ones, though, and I grew up in the 70s, so I'm kind of familiar with some of these right here. you know, they still exist today, but the, you know, the Twix rabbit, you know, some of these are less familiar, um, but these are emblematic of a character-based logo. So that's kind of the fun part of the assignment here. You have looser organic logos, and then you have more geometric-based logos. And this is 60s and 70s. Uh, to show you something more modern, I have another book. So let me grab this one. And this book is called Los Logos. And so look how thick this book is. So it's basically like an archive of logos from, I think, maybe the late 90s, early 2000s. So if you kind of look at the difference between these two eras, you're talking non-digital, so a lot of hand-drawn work, versus fully digital. And you can kind of see how that plays out because the fully digital logos are very geometric. And if you go through this, there are examples of character-based logos in here. Oops. Hold on, I lost my. Right here. So getting into more, you know, silhouette type logos, and let's see. And there's a whole index here of different logos. You know, so here more character based, but you know, digital. You know, you're talking something from the past 20 years, but fun. You know, fun ideas as well. So more examples. It's kind of fascinating once you kind of dig into some of this stuff, all the different variety out there. So there's a lot of ideas you can play with. This is cool, like getting into, you can really tell how Adobe Illustrator plays a good role in creating these image tracings and then how the typography combines with things as well. So a lot of really interesting ideas to work off of. You know, more like graffiti-based style, probably get into like anime style, more cartoony, you know, silhouettes, stuff like that. So anyways, yeah, that's all I wanted to show you tonight. And that's about it for tonight. So are you guys
Joe,
good?
I have a question.
Yes.
Well, for the character design, is it supposed to be something that like the consumer would want, or like something like most wanted like that, or because I had sent in a sketch of mine, but it's like an alien,
Okay.
and it was for like I suppose a cartoon in the matter, but I was so you're not actually supposed to use the most wanted in the low what is it? What is it? I believe the flyer.
Yeah, so the most wanted is like the name of the campaign itself. So
Okay.
if you're using like an alien logo, it could be a product, right? You could be you creative with it, um, or maybe it's like it could be anything. I mean, it could be a product. It could be for maybe a movie. You know, it could be maybe for um, an organization. Maybe it's like for a weird like alien cult or something. You know, like Alien Lovers Anonymous, and then you know Most Wanted. The idea for the Most Wanted part could be Most Wanted. You know, the ultimate abduction. You know, alien abduction.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like it's like part of it is having fun with that most wanted part.
Yeah.
You know, and then you'd have most wanted. The ultimate abduction, and then you'd have a poster for that, and then you would join Aliens Anonymous. And then you would have the business card, that you would hand off, like, hey, you want to get abducted, join the Aliens Anonymous Club, and then you have your social media. So that's the kind of idea behind the campaign, right? So, so yeah, it could be a product, but it's anything that it's any idea that you're trying to sell as well. So it could be,
Okay.
yeah. So,
Can you give me a hinting name for mine too?
well, that's kind of where your own creativity and imagination have to come into it. So, um, just make a couple names, Randa. And if you're not sure about your naming things,
Mhm.
come up with 3 or 4 names, and then as a class, we can all kind of like critique it and maybe give you some advice as a class.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because I don't want you
Yeah.
to use my name, right?
Yeah.
I want your own personality to come through with the concept.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, then any other questions?
Joe,
Yes.
so just to be clear, you've probably already said this, but do the words most wanted have to be included on there?
Yeah, I kind of want for the campaign. I want the words to be used on each of the pieces of collateral. Um, so, like, what is your example?
Um, I I haven't really thought of one. I mean, I kind of thought about doing something either with like a moon or maybe the sun. I'm not sure, but so most wanted, and then a set of words of our own that would have to be included in the logo. Is that correct?
You could so you have the logo that's for an idea, or the logo could be for an idea, an organization, or a product. But then the words most wanted is for a campaign for that product. So let's say, um, you did like the sun, and it was like, let's say it was for like, suntan lotion. So the logo would be the sun. It would be like, um, the name of the product could be, um, solar suntan lotion. But then the most wanted campaign could say like most wanted, the perfect tan, and then you would have most wanted, the perfect tan on each piece of collateral with the logo that says, that is for the product, which would be solar suntan lotion.
Okay. Okay, got it.
You know what I mean? So
Okay.
it's kind of like, I think the way to go about it is to design your logo first and think about what the product is first, and then come up with the campaign for the product afterwards.
Okay. 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 Thank you.
Yep. And then again, like, come up with, for Tuesday, come up with your ideas, and then as a class, we can kind of brainstorm together if you feel like you're stuck on something.
Okay, sounds good.
So, okay. Anybody else then? Any other questions from anybody?
Can you take a look at my sketch that I sent you through Discord?
Yeah, so let's see.
Because I wanted it to be more like a cartoon type of movie.
Let's see. And so let's see what I'm trying to find I'm trying to
I
find
think I
this.
sent it through the message, not through the whole Discord thing.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry about that.
hold on. So what so is it this okay, here it is. I think it's this right here?
I can't see.
Can you see? So is it like a bee character, like a bug?
Yeah, but I was gonna go for more like alien type of colors.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, like those logos from the '70s. You saw all sorts of goofy characters, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you could totally do a character like this. And then what's the product?
Well, it would be like a cartoon type. He's like a fugitive on the run.
Okay. For a show, when they do shows, I have examples in my portfolio. I can show you later, but like I worked on this show for Disney called Get Ed, and for the advertisement for the show, there's so many different pieces of advertisement that would go into one show, right? So the Get Ed campaign had large banners where you went to the Grove, the Grove off of La Brea and Third, and you mall, and then I had to work on the huge banners that would overhang as you walk through the mall. And then there's the movie poster, which you're familiar with. Then there's a smaller poster called a one sheet, and then there was even the web banner ads for Get Ed. Now, Get Ed had the character and the words Get Ed. There wasn't really a name for the campaign, but for you to do it, you could say like you could come up with a catchy line. The show's called Bug on the Run, and it would be like most wanted, an exterminator. I don't, something weird, something most wanted.
Yeah. Okay.
So this totally works. Just refine it. The key to this is refining it. So once you like one version, come up with 3 or 4 variations and see how you can refine it. So that's the important part. So okay, cool. So I like it. So anybody else? So I think from this point forward until Tuesday, really the only thing that you should be working on is like concept and sketches, right? You don't have to dig into Illustrator. Grab some paper, pencils, go outside, enjoy the sunlight, do some sketching, and
So after sketching, you go to Illustrator, you draw it there, and then you bring it to InDesign, or like you take it to Photoshop to do that.
sketch it out first. Let me just show you. So this is what Alexis. Sorry, I wasn't sharing. I was showing you were looking at me. This is Alexis's concept for her bug. Well, I'm saying like I like this guy right here with the buck teeth and the glasses, the antenna, like he's an alien, I guess. But keep on sketching. That's important. Like keep on sketching. So that's all you. If you find something that you feel like this is perfect and you want to refine it, go ahead and
Do it at Illustrator.
Yeah, but bring it into Illustrator. So that's important. You're going to draw this in Illustrator. You don't want to draw it in InDesign because InDesign just doesn't have enough tools.
And then take it straight to Photoshop, right?
You can stay in Illustrator. The Photoshop part is for the animation part though. So I would save that for the very last thing. I'd work on all the elements, and then if you want to do that animation part, and that would come into play on the social media posts and the banner, then you can do that last.
I see. Okay.
So I just want to make sure I showed Alexis's alien bug. All right. Anybody else?
Thank you.
So all right, cool. Well, I think we're good. So like I said, there'll be more videos being posted. If you have questions, send me a Zoom message. Other than that, enjoy the weekend and go outside and look at the moon. It's probably the last night maybe to see it, and that's it. So I'm gonna end the class. So,
Okay.
all
Thank
right,
you.
all right,
Thank
guys.
you.
All right, have a good night.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.